Hey, what's going on? It's Sam Kwak, one of the Kwak Brothers here, and today we're going to talk about how do we determine rent and how do we analyze cash flow. So this is a question that I get a lot from people that are just getting started in buying rental properties. You know, they ask me, well, Sam, how do we determine how much to charge for rent? And how do we determine what cash flow are we getting based on the rent and debt service and expenses and like so. So one of the first places I'd like to go, I'm going to actually change color because I don't like plain black. I'm going to go with blue this time. So one of the places that I like to go, well, two places. Number one, if I'm on my laptop or on my computer and I just need a really quick way to figure out how to determine rent, one of the sites that you should go check out is rentmeter.com. So that's rentometer.com. Now I don't have any affiliation with the site. I'm not getting paid to tell you this, but it is a site that I like to use to determine how much is the average rent for a given market. Now the second option obviously is more precise and more accurate, is to work with a real estate agent or real estate broker who's got access to the MLS and can give you rental comps. So that method is precise. It's a little more precise and it's a little more accurate in terms of figuring out what the average and the ballpark rent should be for a given area. So if, let's say, we determine $1,200 is a fair amount of rent to charge, and in fact, of course, if you can lower the rent, that usually keeps the tenant in the property longer, and you'll have better and quicker time in terms of getting your property rented in case if it's vacant. So let's say $1,200 is, I'm going to change color again to this time red, so you guys can see it better on the camera. So let's say $1,200 is our rent that we determined for this area. Now, one of the first things I always do is I gotta make sure I deduct the expenses prior to getting into my cash flow, right? Before even debt service, I want to make sure I have my what I like to call net operating income, or the NOI. So we want to first subtract 10% on the maintenance. So we want to, and the purpose of subtracting $120 is if we need to replace furnace down the road, if we need to replace, let's say, a new roof, right? If we need to fix a broken door or any sort of property maintenance we need to do, we need to make sure we budget that out, because eventually something is going to break down and we're going to have to foot that bill as the landlord. Another thing we want to deduct is 10% on property management costs. Whether you're managing yourself or having a professional property management service do it, you're always going to factor in that cost, because even if you manage it yourself, you still have to go collect rent or create a system for you to collect rent. You still need to pay yourself to administer, the actual administrative cost for managing the property, right? Someone has to pay, whether in time or in money. So another factor is we want to factor in 8% of vacancy. Now I'm trying to do my quick math here. Let's call this $100. I know it's like $96 to be exact, but I'm going to round it up and say $100 for vacancy. This 8% vacancy represents, in case the property is vacant, let's say you don't have a tenant for a month, well, someone still has to pay the bills, right? So you want to make sure you reserve at least $100 a month, in this case 8% out of that $1,200 rent, to make sure that you're going to be able to pay the bill in time where you don't get to collect rent when obviously the property is vacant, right? And from there we're going to subtract property taxes and insurance. Now this is the biggest question mark out of all analysis, because property taxes, obviously change depending on what state or what county, even what city you're in. Here in Chicago, in my area, my Chicagoland suburbia area, usually about $250 a month is average for property taxes. Again, it fluctuates high or it fluctuates low. I'm just gonna go ahead and put in $250 for property taxes. Okay, so this is taxes, right? And on a given single family property, we also have to factor in insurance, homeowner insurance. So the insurance can cost anywhere between $50 to $100 a month. So I'm going to call it $75 a month. Okay, so $75 a month for insurance, and that's very, very important, because in case our property burns down or there's an issue that comes along with our property, we want to make sure we take care of that with our insurance. So we're going to do the math here. Right, $120 minus $120 or $1,200, which is our gross rent. Subtract $120 of maintenance reserve. Okay, I'm gonna actually label this maintenance okay? And this is management. Someone's got to pay with time or money. And this is vacancy. So we subtract all that figure, and what we will get is what's called NOI. This is the figure before if you have any debt service, so if you have a loan, if you mortgage, long-term loans, obviously that's going to factor in as debt service. So once we have the NOI, which we're going to do math here, 200. I'm trying to do this math without a calculator, so bear with me here. 122.40, 340, all right, and then we got 340, 590, and we're gonna round it up. Let's say 595, 655, right? So very close to about 52-53% expenses, which is pretty typical. So I'm gonna round this up, and let's say it's 600 bucks NOI, or round it down, I should say. But I'm gonna round it up, so I'm gonna call it 550 NOI. So what you need to factor in is that your debt service, your monthly payment for your debt, has to be $550 or lower. Obviously, we want to create cash flow. So, you know, at minimum, if you want 100 bucks cash flow every month, you better have a debt service, a loan payment of $450 or less, right? That's P&I, principal and interest payment. So this is how I usually like to analyze my rentals when finding also what, you know, how to determine the rent, what that's going to be. And also, of course, we're going to do cash flow analysis. And this is usually the process of determining whether if this is a good deal or not a good deal, depending on what the, of course, debt service, taxes, insurance, those are two of the big question marks. These figures are pretty consistent, unless if I know that property is really old, then I got to kind of fudge up this maintenance cost to about 13 or even up to 12%, 12 or 13% if the property is old, right, needs a lot of maintenance work throughout the years. But if the property is brand new, let's say within the last 10 years, even so, I'll probably factor in 7 to 8% on maintenance. So that's usually how I determine my cash flow, and I hope this helps you guys in determining whether if you're buying a rental property that is cash flowing or you're losing money, right? You can't be in the middle. So make sure you guys are doing the analysis correctly, make some money, buy some rental properties. And if you guys need some help buying some rental properties, let's say, and you guys are having hard time in terms of funding, let's say you want to buy a rental property, but you just don't have the money or you just don't have the credit. I do have a training program I can recommend that you guys will, if you guys are interested, that you guys can take, that I personally have taken to go out and buy rental properties without using my own money or without my own credit. So if that's something that's intriguing for you, if that's something that interests you, go ahead and visit thekwakbrothers.com/learn. I'll put that link down below in the comments or in the description box. Be sure to subscribe to YouTube channel and hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care.